I'm Sahana Dharmaraj.
And I'm Lawrence Holland. We're here representing KPMB architects and the rest of the international interdisciplinary team behind the Downsview framework plan. The core team is comprised of KPMB, Henning Larsen, SLA, and Urban Strategies out of Toronto.
We're from Toronto, Canada, a city defined by the interaction of two systems, a rectilinear grid of major streets and an organic branching system of ravines which serve as both a recreational landscape and stormwater infrastructure. Toronto is what we call a 50-50 city. Half of its residents were born outside of Canada. The result is a mosaic of cultural diversity that is one of the city's greatest strengths. In 2020, Toronto was the fastest growing city in North America. We're in the midst of a construction boom and a housing crisis. We have the largest number of active construction cranes in North America, but housing in Toronto is still less affordable than New York, London, or Miami.
Our site, the Downsview Airport, was established in the early 20th century on what was then farmland. It sits at a high point in the city, oriented to take advantage of prevailing winds. The airport has served as a site of aerospace innovation and as a Royal Canadian Air Force base. Toronto's post-war suburbanization saw the city slowly grow around the airport. Today it sits firmly within the northwest corner of Toronto, near some of the most economically disadvantaged neighborhoods in the city.
Today, the airport is still active as a Bombardier Aerospace Research Center. When the Air Force downsized its base in the 1990s, those lands were transformed into a 291-acre park complex that incorporates many of the old military buildings. The site is bisected by a regional commuter rail corridor, and there are 3 major transit stations located at its perimeter. Downsview is now the site of a large international food market, urban agriculture installations, film studios, the training grounds for Toronto's professional soccer club, a collection of recreational programs that don't fit downtown, including a go-kart track and a circus school.
The Downsview lands are now owned by 2 crown corporations, Northcrest and Canada Lands, that have agreed to work together to create a joint framework for the redevelopment of the site, building on the success of Downsview Park. Their expressed intent is to use the Downsview project to model global leadership in sustainable city building. The extraordinary scale of the site and the vision of the client group combine to make Downsview perhaps the most significant city building opportunity in North America today. Downsview will be home to 80,000 residents and create over 40,000 jobs. It will involve the design of 100 acres of new parkland, 1.2 million square meters of commercial and light industrial real estate, and 50,000 new units of housing across the full spectrum of affordability.
The framework plan represents the first step in a long process. The redevelopment of the site will unfold incrementally over the next 3 decades. So this is not a master plan. It's a flexible framework designed to adapt to changing circumstances and uncertain futures. Toronto is a city of many diverse voices, and the city is at its best when all of those voices have a say in its future. The Downsview plan was informed by 16 months of community consultation, which saw the client group and design team speak with over 3,000 people and 150 community groups, including representatives from the Toronto area's Indigenous communities. Those conversations will continue throughout the planning process.
That community consultation process resulted in the development of 6 core principles which have guided the project. Befitting our international team, the principles combine the best of sustainable Scandinavian design with a deep local knowledge of Toronto's geographical and social context. The result, we hope, will set a new standard for city building in North America. First, and perhaps most importantly, the scale and location of the site affords the opportunity to fundamentally rethink the relationship between urban development and natural landscapes. At Downsview, urban and natural systems will work together to create a unique new form of development that our landscape lead, SLA, calls city nature. Drawing inspiration from Toronto's ravines, a network of interconnected parks and greenways will structure the Downsview site. This city nature network will serve as green infrastructure, create car-free mobility corridors, and provide recreational opportunities within a 5-minute walk of all new development. The centerpiece of the City Nature Network is the Ravine Underpass, which extends Downsview Park east, carving under the rail tracks into the heart of the site. The underpass expands access to the park and makes a crucial east-west mobility connection. The Ravine Underpass also The Ravine Underpass also allows a significant portion of the site to participate in Downsview Park's existing nature-based stormwater management system. This protects the site against the cloudburst events that climate change is making more frequent and more intense.
Downsview's 2.1-kilometer runway has been the site's iconic feature for over a century. Its presence warps the fabric of the city around it. The framework plan preserves it as a structuring device and connection to local history. But the runway will also be transformed from a monofunctional piece of infrastructure into a community connector. The runway will be the backbone of everyday life at Downsview. The continuous car-free connection will feature bike paths, pedestrian connections, cafes, playgrounds, and small plazas. At key points, it will open up to provide places for civic gatherings. Schools, community centers, and other social infrastructure will be arrayed along its length, ensuring that the runway is the heart of every neighborhood it passes through. The massing of adjacent buildings will be carefully tuned to maximize winter sun access and mitigate the prevailing winds to which the runway is aligned. The goal is to increase year-round outdoor comfort for pedestrians and cyclists, and to ensure that the runway is a four-season destination.
At its best, Toronto is a city of neighborhoods, a mosaic of distinct places that together showcase the city's distinctive multicultural diversity. Downsview aims to create a microcosm of Toronto, in which people live and work in a network of complete communities. Inspired by the emergence of the 15-minute city in Paris, Downsview's communities will be mixed-use, fine-grained, and walkable. A predominantly mid-rise built form will provide enough population density to support a thriving local economy and a vibrant public realm. Downsview's communities will be framed by parks, anchored by the runway, and animated by a high street that will run the length of the site. Rather than creating distinct zones for living, working, shopping, and recreation, Downsview's residents will be able to walk or cycle to jobs, schools and libraries, grocery stores and cafes, healthcare, entertainment, and culture.
In the suburban neighborhoods surrounding the site, there has been significant recent investment in transit, but the car is still king. Over the next few decades, almost 100,000 additional people will move to Downsview to live and work. If they all get around using private cars, it will be an environmental and social disaster. The Downsview plan aims to cut the use of private vehicles by 2/3. The creation of complete walkable communities is central to the project's mobility strategy. But achieving the project's goals also requires rethinking mobility infrastructure. We need to provide safe, convenient, and comfortable options for people to get around without needing to own a car. The City Nature Network and the runway together create an armature for a network of car-free greenways for local trips, as well as convenient active connections to the transit stations at the edges of the site. Where vehicular traffic is required, complete street design will prioritize pedestrian and cyclist safety, helping Toronto achieve its Vision Zero safety goals.
Too often, sustainable development means business as usual with an added layer of elaborate green technology. By contrast, at Downsview, the opportunity to create a new city district from the ground up has allowed the design team to build sustainability and resilience into the very fabric of the place. This is perhaps most evident in the project's ambitions for water. From the beginning, the team's resilience lead, Rambo, has envisioned Downsview's public realm as blue-green infrastructure. Parks, plazas, streetscapes, and courtyards will work together as an integrated, nature-based stormwater management system, relieving the burden on hard infrastructure even in extreme storm events. Inherent sustainability also means letting climatic conditions and outdoor comfort guide fundamental decisions about block orientation, street alignments, and building massing. Working closely with TransSolar, the team has proposed a set of strategies designed to extend Toronto's shoulder seasons and maximize the amount of time people feel comfortable being outside. Year-round outdoor comfort in the public realm is a key driver of the project's sustainable mobility goals.
Finally, it's crucially important that this project be a force for equity and environmental justice, rather than a vehicle for gentrification, exclusion, and displacement. Over the last 50 years, Toronto has experienced the same economic polarization seen in many large global cities. The decline of a once thriving middle class and the rise of a highly unequal I lost my place here. The rise of a highly unequal urban geography. Toronto has a core of immense wealth surrounded by underserved communities made up disproportionately of new immigrants and racialized minorities. Downsview finds itself at the threshold of these two urban conditions. The neighborhoods that surround the site are economically and ethnically diverse. The site is currently a destination for international foods and hosts an urban agriculture incubator program that supports Black farmers working to reduce food deserts. Rather than displacing these programs once redevelopment begins, the Downsview plan aims to make initiatives like these a key part of the site's future. Downsview aims to cultivate a culture of inclusive local entrepreneurship in which existing users and neighboring communities co-author the site's future. This commitment to supporting local job-creating businesses will be complemented by a housing strategy that will provide a range of housing tenures and unit types that will make living and working at Downsview attainable for a broad diversity of residents.
The framework plan was submitted to the city in the fall of 2021, and the design team is currently supporting the client group in a series of workshops with city officials. Once the overall framework is approved, there will need to be a plan completed for each district. Shovels will not be in the ground for at least a few years. We're at the start of a very long process. But in the meantime, a group of interim public activation has already begun, inviting local community members onto the site to participate in art installations and other events. We expect and hope that the new relationships and patterns of use that emerge as part of these programs will help shape the project as it evolves over the next several years. So on behalf of the team, thank you, or appreciate the possibility of presenting this to a global audience.